One of my favorite Pokemon investing in quotation marks speculating YouTubers, I think it's Alex over at Nostalgianomics. He had a kind of somewhat of a hot take as far as like, hey, where's the opportunity in Pokemon investing these days? This was going back maybe like 7 to 10 days ago. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago now. So let's give him credit. The market has cooled slightly on booster boxes as far as just kind of like the rise has kind of slowed a little bit for some of these products. But the hot take that he had coming out, and I can't disagree with him more, is loose packs. Loose packs could be a play. And I'm going to explain what the actual play is right now that a lot of Pokemon investors are completely missing. We'll be right back. Going on, Collectibles friends, we are back again. It is another video. I hope that you all are doing amazingly well as we are about to head into a new week. As I said to start the video, Alex over at Nostalgianomics does a great job kind of explaining his thoughts on different market things and that or whatever. I don't always agree with what he's got to say. He's very optimistic. Sometimes I think he's a little bit too optimistic, kind of in short-term stuff. 2025 is being pegged as a Pokemon bull market. In some ways, I think it's true. In other ways, I think that it's going to be a little bit stagnant. So we've got one side, Pokemon sealed collectors / investors / speculators / hoarders versus the pack openers and the rip and shippers. And it's kind of ironic and interesting because a lot of the sealed holders like in Nostalgianomics, they're also rippers. They're also pack openers. So they're kind of helping their holdings by ripping a lot of the product and making money doing that. And good for them. That business is booming. Essentially, it's a personal break. It's just you buy packs, he opens the packs, sends you your cards or a box. If it's another, rip and shippers, they open your box, send out the contents. Basically, your favorite streamer, open up cards, share it with the universe. Did you get any hits and that sort of a thing? Personal break. And so I think his angle as far as the loose pack thing goes is, hey, look, rip and shippers are going to need product. You could get loose packs. Maybe you can get them at a decent price. And then, hey, eventually, rip and shippers are going to need those packs. It's going to kind of move those prices up. I still think that there's still a tremendous volume of supply, especially for a lot of the later Sword and Shield, Scarlet Violet stuff. It's not to say that's not in demand, because it is hot and it's in demand, but there is still a lot of supply out there. And
you take the card and put it in the sleeve.
And what we have seen is this bull market for sealed has stalled in part because there are a lot of paper hands out there. And let me also just say this. I don't have any issues with paper hands when it comes to you bought something for, let's say it's $100 and a year later it's $200 or maybe it's even $250. I mean, look, those are huge, huge gains. So the idea that somebody would want to go ahead and sell and take money off the table for those, you can't fault anybody for wanting to do that. But again, and I said this in a past video, and I swear I got so much pushback. There is going to be people to eat this product up at these price points moving up. And I was saying, look, we're going to see, because this is a little bit of uncharted territory with these products. They have never been this high, a lot of them. So the whole idea that it's just going to keep up going up forever, everybody has a price point. Now, I know that there's whales like a Rudy at Alpha Investments where he's not as interested. He'll sell off some of his supply, but he's not going to sell off a huge position, even if he bought the thing at $100 and now it's at, let's say it's $500 and he get 5 times his money. Rudy is not as interested. The whales are not as interested. They want the 20 times. They want to sell the thing when it's 2,000 in 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, or pass it down to their family or whatever they want to do. Maybe they don't even need this money. This is just kind of fun. This is a fun little thing they've got on the side. But the average person is not a whale. The average person is not a whale that's going to hold these boxes. It's going to reach a certain point and you're going to be like, oh man, I'm up 3 times or 4 times. I got to get off of this. I got to sell this. And that's where that supply is going to continuously flow in. And unless you have more and more whales that are eating that up, or that next set of investors or speculators buying up that product at the higher price, you're not going to see those prices continue to rise. And we've seen a stagnation with like a Fusion Strike, for example, because what it has shown is whether you're a speculator, investor, or somebody coming in, or you're a whale, you're not really ready to buy up a lot of this stuff at $500 a box. That's right where it stopped, Fusion Strike. Sitting right at $450, $475, you have some consistent sales. $500 though, and plus, $500 plus, it's not happening. It's just not selling there. I don't like the idea of loose packs because of, look, we saw the Amazon tool where people can scan it and if it buzzes and, oh, that's got an extra hollow, it's got an extra hit in it or whatever. I don't like the idea at all of loose packs in sports cards, Pokemon cards, trading cards. I don't like any of it. I don't like the loose pack thing at all. Closest thing I do to that are the 3-pack blisters because they're inside that cardboard piece. It's hard to mess with those without it being really obvious. Plus, I think over time, people like those cardboard backgrounds. It's kind of the same thing with action figures, with graded action figures. It's the nostalgic piece of the artwork from the card, that card back, that people enjoy. So I like 3-pack blisters. But the real opportunity in this space, and I know everyone's going to yawn and they're going to be like, oh my God, dude, you are so boring. I can't believe it. It's not 2020 anymore, dude. It is vintage singles specifically. I said this before. I'm a little bit cautious with vintage booster boxes just because of the Logan Paul stuff. I don't want G.I. Joe cards to be in there and not know. So I'm a little hesitant to go buy a $10,000 vintage booster box. However, the singles in high grades, when I look at that, man, and I understand this is not the sports card space, but when I compare this space over to sports cards and I hear people that laugh at vintage, and then again, I know this is not the sports card space, but to me, it's similar in the sense that people in sports cards, if they're buying vintage cards, they're buying let's say it's 50s baseball, pre-war baseball cards, Honus Wagner, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and all the legends. They're collecting the history of the game of baseball. They're collecting the history of these players, the importance they had to the sport. And in Pokemon, it doesn't seem like a lot of the newer folks I don't know if it's newer or younger. I'm not exactly sure. I can't pinpoint it exactly. They don't necessarily respect that part of this collectible space. Although I have heard, who is Sean over at Reserved Investments. He's a guy that I watch. I've actually had him on my other channel, Sports Card Dad. I've had him on for an interview. We kind of talked, and going back a couple of years, I had him on my channel. We were talking about different kind of collectibles, market dynamics, and that sort of thing. I need to have Sean back on. But Sean is a perfect example of a guy that collects vintage Pokemon. And I'm not saying that there's not money to be made in the modern stuff. But you also have to keep in mind, like, what are your risks, when you look into the modern stuff? The one big one, and again, supply demand plays a huge part in collectibles. The one big one is that there's never been more trading cards for Pokemon printed than from end of 2020 going through now. This has been, and look, we just had prismatic evolutions. Everyone's freaking out over it. Pokemon Company comes out and says, hey, don't worry. We're going to hook you up. They're going to print the living hell out of that. Now, does that mean that you can't buy the sealed stuff, hold it, and it still goes up over time? Sure, it could definitely happen like that. But when I look at where are the real opportunities, man, there are so many really critical cards, those early Pokemon cards from 99 to 2005. Let's just use kind of a little bit of a time frame there. There's so many really important character cards that are slept on, man. Like a lot of them, they of course, they went up 2020, 2021, but then they came kind of crashing back down to reality, and they've been pretty stagnant. Look at Rudy from Alpha Investments. What did he just buy? What did he just make a video of going back a couple weeks ago? And he makes all these videos of vintage magic is dead. Vintage magic is dead, but go back and look at some of his stuff. He said the same thing about Pokemon. Vintage Pokemon's dead. I just bought a bunch of vintage this or vintage that for Pokemon. But he'll say vintage magic is dead, and then he just bought the largest sealed vintage sealed collection, I think that exists that he had said. I think he said it was a 7-figure deal. Why would he do that? Why would he buy sealed magic when it's absolute trash? Everyone hates it. Nobody cares about it. Everyone wants the new, shiny, the modern stuff. Why would he do that? Because he understands and knows what he's betting on is the importance of those first sets, that first product that came out, and that over time, number one, you're not going to be able to find it. So it's going to be more scarce, of course, than the stuff that's coming out now. But also there's going to be a nostalgic feeling. There's going to be a historical element. There are going to be people, he feels, that are going to go back and say, man, I want to invest in this space. Where did it all begin? Where did it all start? And they're not going to look at Sword and Shield era for that. Even in 20 years. In 20 years, they might look back and go, man, Sword and Shield was badass. Love that stuff. But man, it all started back 1999 first edition. Another thing that got my attention is when you look at sealed product for vintage. So you can literally look at like 2001 Neo packs are like $300 or $400 a pack. Yet I can get a high grade card out of that set, like a really nice pull for about the same price, graded, like at a high grade. And I'm thinking like, what is wrong with this picture? And there's been so much emphasis on sealed and holding sealed and sealed this and sealed that, sealed collecting on the Pokemon side that, in my opinion, the single cards have really been kind of slept on. And it might not be now, it might not be in a year, it might not be in 5 years, but 10, 15, 20 years down the road, I feel really good about holding some of that stuff, those vintage singles. And I'm sorry, Alex, over at Nostalgianomics, but that stuff compared to loose packs in today's stuff, it's just kind of a no-brainer. Do I want to hoard loose packs of today's stuff, or do I want to buy vintage singles? Like, that is about the easiest decision I could ever make. All right, let me know your thoughts, my friends. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I'll talk to you again later.